basically represents is the fourth spatial dimension. So, we've got the two-dimensional thing, three-dimensional, and then you've got the fourth spatial dimension that we can never see. And the reason for that is it's a visual representation of that other dimension. Because we're all familiar with the square. This is obviously crochet, so it's not going to be mathematically accurate, but this is obviously a 2D cube, isn't it? It's a square there. And if you look very, very carefully, you can start to see the 3D cube, like that. You can see that. There's the 3D cube. And this is the one step up from the cube, so it's the next spatial dimension. And the tesseract, and you can start to see there's one cube, and then you can see that repeated all the way around, like so. But to the layman, like you and me, this is just a really nice, pretty pattern, and I'm going to show you how to make it. So we're going to be using some DK light worsted weight yarn, and I've got some yarns here. I'm not sure which colours to use. I think I shall go for these. How many colours do you need? You need 1, 2, 3 colours or 4 colours, entirely up to you. I think we shall go with, let's go with 4 colours this time, in that order. So this is just some DK light worsted weight yarn. You can use any yarn that you like. I'm going to be using a 3mm crochet hook to go with my DK light worsted weight yarn, but you can use any hook that's suitable for the yarn you're using. And it's also a good idea to have a yarn needle for sewing in your ends and a pair of scissors for cutting your ends. So let's begin. So let's start off with the darkest colour first. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to chain 5. Slip knot, and we're going to chain 5. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch into our first chain. So find your first chain, put your hook in there, bring the yarn through, and then straight through the loop on your hook to do a slip stitch. And then that creates a little loop of your chains. Your little 5 chains are now joined at the beginning and the end. And in the middle there, we're going to put our hook in the middle, right through the centre of our chains. And we're going to work 10 single crochet. So 1. Just keep working into that centre of that loop. 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and when you get towards the end you may have to move them over a little bit. 8, 9, squeeze 10 in there, like so. I'm just going to pull that tail end a little bit. It does bring in the centre circle a little bit. But when you've got your 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, we're just going to find that first single crochet, put your hook through that first single crochet and do a slip stitch to join the round. Okay, so you should have 10 single crochet after that round. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to chain 1 and bring up your yarn slightly, keep it loose because we need to slip stitch into it at the end. So do your chain 1, and in the same stitch that you just slip stitched into underneath that chain 1, you're going to put your hook back in there and do a single crochet. And then you've technically got 2 stitches in the same stitch. Your chain 1 counts as a stitch, and you've got your single crochet. Then in the next stitch over, we're going to do 2 single crochet. 1, go back into the same stitch and do another single crochet. Oh, tail gets in the way. Back into the same stitch. 2 single crochets. You've got 2 stitches in there, 2 single crochet in there, and you want to do 2 single crochet in each stitch around until you've got 20 stitches. Okay, so 2 in there, 2 in the next one. Okay, and when you've got to the end, you just want to slip stitch, find your chain 1. So it always looks like there's another stitch afterwards, but that's not a stitch. Just above that is your chain 1. You just want to put your hook into that chain 1. Hopefully if you kept it loose enough, it should be easy to work into. And we'll do a slip stitch to join the round. Okay, it's quite hard to see with this dark blue. But by the end of round 2, you should have 20 stitches. So now we're going to move on to round 3. We're going to do the same thing again. Bring your yarn up and do a chain 1. And then we're going to go straight into the next stitch, not the one you slip stitched into, but the next stitch, and do 2 single crochet. 1, another one in the same stitch, 2. So you've got 2 in there. Then in the next stitch, you want to just do 1 single crochet by itself. Let's try that again. 1 single crochet by itself. There we go. And in the next stitch, you want to do 2 single crochet. 1 and another one in the same stitch. Okay, and you want to repeat that round, doing 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet. Back to the beginning, you should end on 2 single crochet, and you should have a stitch count of 30. Okay, so 1 single crochet in the next stitch by itself, then 2 single crochet, increase in the next, back into the same stitch. Okay, it's just going up to the last 2. We do single crochet, that's second to last one, just by itself. And in the very last stitch, we do 2 single crochet, 1 and another one in the same stitch. And then all we do is we slip stitch into our chain 1. So we find that next fake stitch. There always looks like a stitch, and just above that is your chain 1. There we go. So at the end of round 3, you should have 30 stitches. We're going to do one more round on our circle part. Do the same thing again. We're going to pull our yarn up and do a chain 1. Then in the next stitch, so not the one you slip stitched into, but the next stitch, we're going to do a single crochet by itself. Then in the next stitch, we're going to do 2 single crochet. 1 and another one in the same stitch. Then in the next stitch, we're going to do 1 single crochet by itself. And then in the next stitch, we do 1 single crochet by itself. So that's 1 single crochet by itself in the next 2. And then an increase again of 2 single crochet. 1 and another one in the same stitch. And we're going to repeat that round, doing 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet. Back to the beginning, you should end on 2 single crochet, and you should have a stitch count of 40. Okay, so 1 single crochet in the next 2, then an increase. Okay, so I'm just going up to the last 3, and we're going to do the same again, just 1 single crochet in the next 2, 1 by itself, into the next stitch and do 1 by itself, and then 2 single crochet in the very last stitch, 1 and another one in the same stitch. And then all we do is we slip stitch into that chain 1, so we find that next stitch, which is like a fake stitch, and just above there is our chain 1. Just slip stitch into there. Okay, so there we go. So that's the end of round 4, and you should have a stitch count of 40. It's very important that you have a stitch count of 40 because we need to divide up our star parts here equally. Okay, so what we're going to do now is chain 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And in your second stitch from hook, so we don't count the loop on our hook, there's our first, there's our second, and that second stitch from hook, that second chain, we're going to do a slip stitch. Okay. Then in the next chain, we're going to do a single crochet. And in the next chain, we're going to do a half double crochet. So yarn over into the next chain and do a half double crochet. Then in the next one, we're going to do a double crochet. Then in the very last chain, we're going to do a treble. So we yarn over twice for a treble. Go into the last chain, pull the yarn through, and then we pull through two, pull through two, pull through two to do a treble. Then what we need to do is we need to skip. We need to skip 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches. We need to skip 4, and in the 5th one we're going to put our hook and do a slip stitch like so, and that creates your first point of your star. And we're going to repeat that round all the way back to the beginning. So we're doing the next one, we chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and our second stitch from the hook, so not the loop on the hook, but there's 1, there's 2, do a slip stitch. Then in the next chain we do a double, we do a single crochet. Sorry, what am I talking about? Single crochet. Then in the next stitch we do a half double crochet. So you're just working up the stitch sizes really. Then the next stitch do a double crochet. Then the last one we do our treble. So you wrap the yarn around twice. Go to that last one. And then pull through 2, pull through 2 loops, pull for the last 2. Then we skip 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And in that 5th stitch, the next one along, we do a slip stitch. Okay, and then that creates our next point. So just repeat that all the way around, and you should end up with 8 points on your star, but I'll come back on the last one and show you how to finish it. Okay, so I'm just going up to the last point. As you see, I've done 7 here. So the last one, same again, just chain 6, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and then in our second stitch from hook we do a slip stitch. Then in the next stitch we do a single crochet. Next stitch do a half double crochet. Next stitch double crochet. The last one a treble. Wrap it round twice. And pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. Then what we do is skip 1, 2, 3, 4, all the remaining stitches. And then what we're going to do is, in that first chain 1 that you did on your first point of your star, we're just going to put your hook into there, and instead of pulling through the dark blue, we're going to introduce our new colour. So I'm going to go for the next blue up, it gets a bit lighter. And instead of wrapping over with the dark blue, we're going to wrap over with our light blue. I'll put the tail end that side, and the yarn we're working with this side, and just pull that through instead and through the loop on your hook, and pull your tail ends nice and tight. And we can cut off, we can fasten off the dark blue now and get rid of that so we don't get tangled. And now we're working with our lighter blue, or our next colour. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to turn. So turn your work, and then in that star, that point there, so you've ended up like this, you've finished there. And what you want to do is we're going to turn and we're going to work 1 single crochet in each stitch along on this point of our star. So what you want to do is put it in the first stitch there, bring the yarn through and do a single crochet. I'm going to pull some of these tail ends tight. There we go. And then we do 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, then 1 single crochet in that last stitch, like so. So you do 1 single crochet in each stitch along, and there should be 5, so 1 single crochet in the next 5. Then what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1, don't count that as a stitch though, we're just going to turn, then we're going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch across again. Let's go into that first stitch and do a single crochet in the next one, single crochet in the next one, single crochet in the next one, and a single crochet in that last one. Okay, so you've still got a stitch count of 5. Okay, and then what you want to do is on this other point, you want to find the next little stitch, foundation stitch. It'll be the chains that you originally worked into when you did chain 6 and you worked those stitches. So in that next, to be your second chain up, you want to put your hook into there and do a slip stitch. Okay, and you want to do it for the next one as well. So you want to go into the next chain and do a slip stitch as well. Then we turn your work, and then work 1 single crochet in those 5 again. So not in those slip stitches, just straight into that 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then we do the same thing again. We chain 1 and turn, do 1 single crochet each stitch across. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the last one, 5. And then again we find our last 2 chains on there, we put our hook in there, next one, do a slip stitch, and in that very last one, right at the top, if you can find it, where are you hiding? There we go, do a slip stitch again, and we turn, do 1 single crochet in each stitch across at the 5 main stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then that completes your first square, which are these parts here. Okay, so what we're going to have to do though is we're going to fasten off. We have to do them individually, so you may have a few tails to tie in at the end. So by the end of that round, it should look a little something like that. You should have a little 5 by 5 square. Should have gone 1, 2, 3, 4. No, should have gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what we're going to do next is we're going to rejoin our light blue, which is just fallen on the floor. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to rejoin and do the next one. So you find your first chain of your chain 6 of your pointed part of the star. So find that first chain and put your hook in there and rejoin your light blue. And I just do a little chain one to secure. Little chain one, just pull your tail end tight. There we go. So rejoin your yarn in that chain one, and then we turn, and we're going to work along this edge now into these stitches, and you should again have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you put your hook into that first stitch and do a single crochet, and it's 1 single crochet in each stitch across. So you should have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Your 5th one is on the end. No, it's gone into the same one. Gets a bit crazy in the corner. There we go. 5, and then again we chain 1 and turn and do 1 single crochet in each stitch across. So you've still got stitch count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we find our next chain on our point. Put your hook into that next chain. You can see the little chains in there. I'm going to do a slip stitch. And do a slip stitch in the next one up as well. Then we turn and do 1 single crochet in each stitch across. You've still got the stitch count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we do chain 1, don't count as a stitch, turn, 1 single crochet in each stitch across. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then we find the last 2 chains on our point. Find that next one, second to last one, and do a slip stitch. It helps when you want to find these original chains. It helps when you originally work in them to make the point only work into the top loop, and it makes it easier to see the other side of the chain. Then into the very last one, do another slip stitch, and then turn your work, and 1 single crochet in each stitch across. So you've still got the stitch count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you're done. We just cut our yarn, pull the yarn through, and there's our second square, 5 by 5 square in between our points. So what you want to do is repeat that for each gap in between each point, always starting in your first chain from your chain 6. Maybe you did your chain 6, and then you just slip stitch, single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet, treble into that first chain you rejoin your yarn there, then you turn and work over, 1 single crochet in each stitch across, chain 1, don't count as a stitch, turn, and then slip stitch up the next 2, 1 single crochet in each stitch across, chain 1, turn, 1 single crochet in each stitch across, slip stitch up to the top, and then crochet back and finish. Okay, so just repeat that for each gap around. Okay, so let's rejoin our yarn in our first chain. Okay, so I've finished doing all those little squares, and the important thing to remember is when you rejoin your yarn, always make sure you've got the front side facing. So begin from the front side so you know which point of the star to rejoin your yarn in. And I've just repeated those 5x5 squares all the way around. You should have 8 of them, and you're going to be left with a lot of tails. If you hate tying tails, it's not going to be the pattern for you. But I'm going to tie in all my tails at this stage, and then we're going to move on to the next stage. Okay, so I've tied in all my tails and it looks a little bit like this. So this is going to be the front and that's the back, and what we're going to do now is we're going to work on the sort of kite shapes, these shapes in between each square. So we're going to introduce our next colour, which is going to be another lighter blue, and what you want to do is rejoin join the yarn, not rejoin it because it's the first time we've used colours. What am I talking about? So we're going to join the yarn in the top of one of your squares. So in that last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5th stitch, we're going to rejoin our next colour. We just secure it with a little chain 1, like so. And what we're going to do is we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next stitch. Single crochet in the next stitch, and then we're going to do a half double crochet in the next stitch. So always start with it the right side facing. So a half double crochet, then we're going to do 1 double crochet in the next, or the last 2 stitches. So 1 double crochet in the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet in the next stitch. Oh, I lost it, And there we go. So 1 double crochet in the last 2. Then at the top of your star point, we want to work another double crochet. So just as neatly as you can, try and put your hook in there somewhere. There we go. To the top, and work another double crochet. Okay, just into the top of your point. Then we're going to work some stitches along the side of this square. Now this side of the square doesn't have proper stitches, so you're going to have to work this as neatly as you can. But because you did 5 rows, you did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you should have 5 levels, 5 stitches of sorts, if that makes sense. You've got 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, 1 on the ends on each row. So as neatly as you can, work a double crochet in there, then a double crochet in the next row up, then we're going to do a half double crochet in the next row up, half double crochet, and then a single crochet in the next row up, and then we're going to finish in the last row in that proper stitch. We'll do a slip stitch like so. So it looks a little bit like that, creates a straight edge. Then what we're going to do is we are going to do, I'm going to chain, no, what we're going to do, what we're going to do, what we're going to do. Can't read my notes. I'm going to turn straight away. So don't do a chain one, we're just going to turn straight away. And what we're going to do is we're going to skip that slip stitch on the corner. So skip that slip stitch. Then we're just going to do 1 single crochet to the last stitch. So skip that first one, go into the next stitch and do a single crochet. And do 1 single crochet in each stitch across to the last stitch. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and then actually it's 8 and then 9, and then we did our little chain one at the very beginning, In there, what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch into that last stitch, into your little chain one that you did. Just do a little slip stitch in there, just to join the end of the round. Okay, so what you did was turn, skip the slip stitch, one single crochet in the next 9, and then a little slip stitch in that little chain one that you did. Okay, so what we're going to do then is we're going to turn again. So just turn your work again, and then we're going to skip the slip stitch. So skip that slip stitch, and then we're going to single crochet 2 stitches together. So skip that one, then in the next proper stitch, very loud tractor going past, put your hook into the next stitch, and then put your hook into the next stitch. So you've got 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops to single crochet 2 together. Then we'll do 1 single crochet in the next 5. So 1, oops, lost that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're just going to finish up by single crocheting the last 2 stitches together. So we go into the next stitch, pull up, and into the last stitch, pull up, yarn over, pull through all 3, single crochet those 2 together. So your stitch count now should be down to 7. Yeah, should be 7. So then what we want to do is we want to turn our work again, and then go straight into the first stitch this time. We're just going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch across, so you've still got a stitch count of 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the last one, 7. So just 1 single crochet in each stitch across. Then what we're going to do is we're going to turn our work again, and we're going to single crochet the first 2 together. So go into that first stitch, bring the yarn up, then into the next stitch, bring the yarn up, yarn over, pull through all 3 to single crochet 2 together. Then we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next 3. 1, 2, 3. That should leave you with 2, and we're going to single crochet those 2 together as well. So into the next stitch, pull up, then into the next last stitch, single crochet those 2 together. So now you've got a stitch count of 5. And what we're going to do, we're going to turn and do 1 single crochet in each stitch across. Let's go into that first stitch, do a single crochet, single crochet in each stitch across, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. Then what we're going to do, we're going to turn our work again, single crochet first 2 together. Let's go into that first stitch, pull up, next stitch, pull up, yarn over, pull through all 3. Then we'll just do 1 single crochet in the next stitch in the middle by itself, and single crochet the last 2 together as well. Pull up, and then into the last one, pull up, yarn over, pull through all 3, single crochet 2 stitches together. So now your stitch count is down to 3. Then we turn, 1 single crochet in each stitch across, so into that first one, 1, 2, 3. And then what we're going to do is we're going to turn, and we should have 3 stitches still, and we're going to single crochet all 3 together. So we're going to the first stitch, pull up, into the next stitch, pull up, and into the last stitch. And pull up. So you've got 4 loops. Yarn over, pull through all 4 loops, and that's single crochets all 3 together. And there we go. We're going to cut the yarn again. Like I say, I'm going to end up with loads of tails. I actually hate tying in my tails as well, but sometimes a pattern's worth it. So there we go. There's our sort of kite shape that joins the 2 squares together. And then we just do the same for each one around. So I'll show you one more, and then the rest I'll let you do by yourselves. So for the next one, again, we rejoin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in that 5th stitch, which will be the same one as your slip stitch probably. Rejoin your colour. And do your little chain 1. Then what we want to do is a single crochet in the next stitch. Then a half double crochet in the next stitch. Double crochet in the next stitch, or in the last 2. So a double crochet in the next stitch and a double crochet in that last stitch. Okay, so you do a chain 1, single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet, double crochet. Then we do a double crochet in the top of our point of our star, double crochet in there. And then we don't have proper stitches, but we have rows. So in the first row we do a double crochet. Should find a little hole on the end which wraps around the single crochet at the end. Double crochet in the next row. Then a half double crochet in the next row. Single crochet in the next row. And then in the very last one, do a slip stitch. Okay, so that's your first row. And then we turn, we don't chain 1 or anything like that, we just literally turn our work, and we're going to skip that slip stitch. So skip that slip stitch and do 1 single crochet in the next 9. Okay, so skip that one, and then the next stitch we do a single crochet. And do it in the next 9, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then you should be back to your little chain 1 at the very beginning, and in that chain 1 you want to do a slip stitch as best you can. You can pull that tail end tight now, a little slip stitch in the end. Then what we want to do is you want to turn again, and we want to skip the slip stitch, so skip that stitch there. Then in the next one we're going to single crochet the next 2 together, so go into the next stitch, pull through, and into the next stitch, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3 to single crochet 2 together. Then do 1 single crochet in the next 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, should leave you with 2, and we'll single crochet those 2 together. Let's go into the next stitch, pull up, then into the last stitch, pull up, yarn over, pull through all 3. Okay, then we're going to turn, don't chain 1 or anything, just turn, 1 single crochet in each stitch across. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. You should have a stitch count of 7. Okay, Then what we're going to do, we're going to turn, single crochet to the first two, so go into that very first stitch, pull up, the next stitch, pull up, single crochet those two together by pulling through all three. Then one single crochet in the next three. 1, 2, 3. Then the last two, single crochet those two together. Let's go into the next stitch, pull up, and find that last stitch, pull up, yarn over, pull through all three. So you should have a stitch count of 5. And we're going to turn, one single crochet in each stitch across, so go straight into that first stitch. Do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 and 5. Should have a stitch count of 5. Then turn. We're going to single crochet the first two together. Single crochet those two together. Then one single crochet by itself. Single crochet the last two together. Okay, so you should have a stitch count now of 3. Then we turn, single crochet, one single crochet in each stitch across. So 1, 2, 3, keeping that stitch count to 3. Then we turn. We're going to single crochet all 3 together. So we go into the first stitch, pull up, to the next stitch, pull up, and then into that last stitch, pull up. Should have 4 loops, yarn over, pull through all 4. Then we're going to cut our yarn, pull it through, and there we go. So where's the front? That's the front. And there we go, there's our next kite shape that joins them. So repeat that for each gap around. Again, you still have 8, as you can see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I'm going to do that for the remaining 6, and yeah, and then I shall come back. Okay. Okay, so I've repeated that all the way around for the remaining gaps, and all that's left to do is I'm going to tie in all these tails. So let's do that. I'll just quickly show you how I tie in the tails. I didn't show you on the last one. It's really easy. All I do is I get my yarn needle, and to keep the point at the top, what I do is, you can see, I go, the stitch finishes there, so I go over just slightly underneath the stitch, through the yarn to the back, like so, and that keeps the point of the triangle shape. And then all I do is I sew down without pulling too tightly, and I sew back in the opposite direction. So then just trim the excess. So, and there we go, tied in my tails. So, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat that for all my other tails, and then I shall come back and show the last round. Okay. Okay, so I've tied in all my tails, which didn't actually take too long, and now you're left with a pretty awesome star. Actually, I'd be half inclined to leave it like that. But if you want to carry on to do the finished design here, what we need to do is get our next colour. I'm going to go for white, and we're going to join our white in the top of one of our triangle kite sort of shapes, one of our points. So you just want to, as neatly as you can, put your hook into the top. Go and join our white. I'm going to join it with, do a little chain 1 to begin, just to join it on there. And what we need to do is we need to work 6 stitches down the edge of our kite shape. We don't have proper stitches to work into, so you're going to have to work them neatly. but we're going to start with a single crochet. So just moving over slightly, we're just going to put our hook in as neatly as we can and do a little single crochet. Then in the next row down, as it were, as neatly as you can, just move slightly over, do a double crochet. Okay, and then moving over slightly, we're going to do a treble. So we need to wrap the yarn around twice. Just going to move my hook over slightly. Just move your hook over slightly and do a treble. So we pull through two, pull through two, pull through two. Then we're going to do another treble, moving over slightly. Pull through two, pull through two, pull through two. Then we're going to do another treble, slightly over. Pull through two, pull through two, pull through two. So you've done a single crochet, started off with a little chain one, which is going to be slip stitches on the other ones, then a single crochet, double crochet, then 1, 2, 3 treble crochets. Then you want to do a double treble crochet, and to do that we wrap the yarn around 3 times and then moving our hook over slightly somewhere. Let's find somewhere to put it neatly as we can. You can probably do a neater job than I'm doing. And it's the same principle as with the treble. We pull through 2, 4 loops, pull through 2, 3 loops, pull through 2, 2 loops, pull through the last 2. You're always pulling through 2 loops in a double crochet stitch and higher. So anything bigger than including a double crochet and bigger, you do pull through 2. So we do a double treble. We need to do another double treble. 1, 2, 3. You wrap the yarn around your hook 3 times. And then we're going to go into the top of our square shape. So in the middle here, put your hook somewhere neatly and do another double treble. So pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. Then we're going to do another double treble. 2, 3, wrap the yarn around 3 times on working along this other edge now. So making sure it lines up fairly well with the other side. Pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. And then we're going to work 3 treble crochets. And treble, we just wrap it round twice. So move over slightly and do a treble. Still pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. Then do another treble. 2, pull through 2, pull through 2, then another treble, 3. Then we're going to do a double crochet. Oops. Double, and then squeeze in a single crochet. And then we're just going to slip stitch at the very top to move it over for the next one. Okay, so it should look a little something like that. Okay, so then we just move on to the next one and do exactly the same thing. We're going to do, we've done our little slip stitch at the top, and we're just going to move over, making sure it lines up fairly well with the other side. I'm going to start off with our single crochet somewhere neatly. It's actually harder doing it down this side than it is the other side. Single, there we go. Find your double and match it up on the opposite side. Do a double crochet next. Then we need to do our 3 trebles. 1, 2, 3. So wrap it round twice. Find where that one is, move over, get it to line up. Just helps you space it out easier. And the next treble, move over, slightly. 2, 2, then another treble, twice for a treble. So then there's 3 trebles, 1, 2, 3, and then we do our double treble, so that's wrap it around 3 times, 1, 2, 3, and just find where that one is, and move over slightly. Crochet as neatly as you can. 4 through 2, 4 through 2, 4 through 2, 4 through 2, that's 2. Then we need to do a double treble in the middle. So 1, 2, 3 for a double treble. Just go into the top, a little square. 4 through 2, 4 through 2, 4 through 2. That's a bit of a messy one. 4 through 2. You can take more time than I am. Then another treble, 1, 2, 3, and then try and line it up with the other side. 4 through 2, 4 through 2, 4 through 2, 4 through 2. There we go. Now we need to do our 3 trebles. So wrap it around just twice. Move it over slightly and do a treble. 2, 2, 2. Wrap it around twice. 2, wrap it around twice. For the third one, and then we do a double crochet, and then we do a single crochet, and then we finish up with a slip stitch at the top as neatly as you can. Okay. So there we go, there's our next one like that. And it creates a straight edge. And yeah, so then just repeat that round, all the other gaps, starting off with your single crochet, half double crochet, single crochet, double crochet, then your 3 trebles, 1, 2, 3, and then 3 double trebles, 1 there, 1 there, and 1 there. Then another 3 trebles, 1, 2, 3, then a double crochet, a single crochet, slip stitch in the top, and then you're back where you are. So just repeat that all the way around, back to the beginning. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and then I shall come back. So, single crochet. Okay, so I'm just going up to the very last single crochet, and then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to slip stitch in my chain 1's too small, so I'm just going to slip stitch into that for a single crochet, like so, and then we can fasten off. The good thing about that round is we don't have many tails to tie in. So there we go, there is our finished hype cube, and as you can see, you can start to see there's the square and there's the cube shape appearing again, but of course it's just a beautiful design anyway, so if I say so myself. But anyway, let's get our yarn needle and tie in our very last tail ends. Let's just move that to the back, and then go for some similar coloured yarn. Just go down and then back in the opposite direction. Cut, and then we do the same for the beginning tail. Move back into the opposite direction. There we go. You can, of course, if you wanted to, continue round, working in the round actually now, and you could work some increases on the corners and to make it bigger. But I'm going to stop there. That's my design as is, and because I used a different yarn, this is actually a cotton yarn, so it creates a smoother finish, more of a washcloth finish, and this I used acrylic yarn, so it creates a more of a fluffy effect, but they're about the same size. They're both a DK yarn, But if you use a thicker yarn, you will end up with a bigger design. But I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. I hope you managed to follow along. It's definitely creates a beautiful design, but very annoying having to tie in all those tail ends. So I hope you can have the patience to try it. And yeah, I will